So we're joined for our final guest of the semester, all the way from Houston, Texas, by radio network support engineer Christa Johnson. We thank you so much for joining us for the fifth time. This is our college career readiness class. I got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, Rosa Scott, Madison Central, the Academic Option Center, and our YouTube channel. And we're in the STEM career cluster. So thank you so much for joining us once again today.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning,
Now,
Greg. How are
now
you?
we're doing great. Now, before we get into everything you do, because it's the third career you've had since you joined us,
hmm
we got to mention again how small the world is because me and you have never met in person. However, you went to the same high school in Chicago as our friend. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. So you went to the same high school in Chicago as our friend, Coach Martin, who was at Velma Jackson here for years. And your sister lives down the street from me in Flowood, and your nephew goes to Jackson State. So it is absolutely unbelievable the connections you have to us here at Velma Jackson.
Yes, yes, yes. And then, had a small stint as a Tiger as well. So, of course, it just makes it even better. So, I spent my summers down there in Jackson, spent my summers in Brandon and in Flowood. So that's home. It's still home to me. And when I was approached with this opportunity, I couldn't help it. I mean, first of all, you made it pretty sweet. But second, the fact that of the matter I can give back to my second home, it made it even better. So can't
Well,
help it.
it's always great to end our semesters with you. And now, tell us a bit about because you went to high school in Chicago, and you
Yes.
started doing the college route. But just take us through that whole journey because it's really interesting how you got into this field.
Exactly. Well, I always had a passion for technology in any way possible. So, even though people are like, you were born in the 1900s, it's not what you think. It's not, Stone Age, it's not caveman. We actually created a lot of the things that we are using today, and it's just easily accessible now versus what it was then. So, my dad introduced me at a very young age to technology with my very first computer at 2. So I sat on his lap. He showed me what one of the newest, latest and greatest Apple computers were. And he said I was hooked since then. So as a kid, I was breaking things apart, putting them back together, getting in trouble. But as long as they worked, they left me alone. And so I worked on, things around the house, and then I took the vocational route. I actually studied computer maintenance and engineering at Chicago Vocational High School, which is not so traditional with a lot of people now because they want you to do all of the traditional 4 years in school and do the academic part. But the cool thing about being a vocational school is the fact that you get to focus on what you want to do as a career goal then. So you're not waiting until the last minute, but it's enrichment for your passion. It's giving, you the opportunity to do the things that you want to do upfront, right then and there. So I was working on computers. I was using soldering irons. I was, you know, actually very hands-on back then. I left school with certifications. A plus, C plus plus, and so forth. So that actually gave me a heads up. So when I went away to school and started, I knew that Jackson State was ready for me and I was ready for it, but circumstances led me into a different direction. So when I actually finished college a few years later with my degree in computer electronics engineering, I stayed on the route because it was still a passion. And if I had the opportunity again, I would do it the same exact way because of the simple fact that it doesn't work for everybody. The 4-year route doesn't, support everybody. It does not give the enhancements that a person may need in order for them to do what they actually want to do in the long run. So afterwards, I just started working actually through college. I worked through Best Buy at the computer department. So I was an original geek for the Geek Squad. So a lot of people don't know that. Like Geek Squad has been around for quite a while. And I was one of the original geeks. And after that, I became one of the first female lead technicians in the state of Illinois for Sprint. So I was one of the in-store technicians repairing cell phones and when iPhone first came out and things of that nature. So it was pretty cool to have those opportunities laid before me and actually to take on those opportunities and make them my own. So afterwards, I worked with a lot of the lead management for Walgreens and headquarters here there in Illinois. And afterwards, I did 9 years at Verizon, which led me to my dream job as a network engineer. I was building the cell network, and I worked through COVID, which was massive because everybody was converting to work from home when I met you, Greg.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and that was such a big time. And I remember you were so proud of showing the pictures of you in the hard hat saying girls can do this too, where you were
yeah.
literally helping repair and install new cell phone network because that was when we depended on that cell network more than ever.
That's right. That's right. I mean, the world was changing and it was changing at such a fast pace that the dependency was higher. It was it was more important than not like it wasn't important before, but it was more important because the world shut down and no one was prepared for that world to shut down. And the time had to continue to go. People still had to continue to live. Students had to continue to go to school. So we had to provide that network for you, not only in the matter of COVID, but in the matter of hurricanes, storms, anything that would knock out any type of power connection. That was me. I was working on my network trucks. I was making sure that they were going out to areas that were supporting. So even when we had the big storm in Lake Charles, Louisiana, a couple of years ago, I was responsible for making sure those trucks had satellites that worked so people who were in those disaster areas could make phone calls to their loved ones and to check in and let them know service was working. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm not safe. If I'm not safe, this is what we can do, So it always was a great form of pride for me to make sure that everyone stayed connected, no matter what, whether it's to talk to friends and family or to handle business or to save a life. It all works together.
Yeah, and the and then you spent a brief time at Logix, which is you did with a lot of broadband, and now you're with Tate Communications, which does push to talk, a lot of communications. And like we were saying before you came on, you never think about how important that is to law enforcement and to fire and safety and to logistics and transportation and shipping. So Tate is based in New Zealand, but they have a huge presence there in Texas. So tell us about
Yes.
what all you do at Tate, because it's really interesting.
Well, Tank is definitely awesome. I must say this is the best jump that I have made in a long time in my career. As you said, it's very important for logistics for law enforcement, but also it's important for you guys in the school systems because you guys use radios as well to communicate throughout the school and to make sure that, students are safe, you guys are safe, everything is running like a well-oiled machine because that's how the world communicates. They communicate in many different ways. So as a radio engineer, I just shortened it a little. As a radio engineer, we actually support our clients and we support schools, we support law enforcement's initiative to maintain that connection. So when there's a problem that arises, I make sure software is updated. Even if I have to go to the client throughout the country, like now I will be traveling not only throughout the country but across the world because Houston is our America headquarters. So we're responsible for Canada, all the way down to South America and Brazil further. So
Wow.
yeah. So pretty soon I will be on the road at conventions, working with our clients, making sure they know about the product, making sure they're well versed about the product, and also making sure that their schools and law enforcement and logistics and construction workers and anyone that uses our product is well educated, but also knows how to handle it when time comes. So I would make sure the frequencies are right, the connections are strong, just like I did with Verizon, but also now more than ever, it's more important because this is a network within a network. So our clients are in control. So because they're in control, I am there to support them in that.
Yeah, and it's really cool because with your skills and with your interest, you get to do both. You get to look at the server side, the devices. You get to, you know,
Mhm.
if something's wrong with the actual device, and you get to look, and you get to work on the network side, which is really cool for people that want to work in technology. This could be a great avenue because if they like dealing with the wiring and all the boards and circuits, and then they want
Mhm.
to deal on the side with the network, there are so many ways that they can deal with both of those in this area.
In this area right here specifically, and that's what made me jump over to tape. Also, like you said, everything is done in-house. So I manage the work in-house here in Houston, but also there's so much more in the New Zealand office that is just phenomenal because that's our global headquarters. So we actually build a lot of our equipment from scratch, even the tester radios that we send out, but more importantly, the full setup for, for law enforcement, for 911 centers, for things like that. So it's very, very important. So when you call 911 and an operator picks up, that operator is already on the other line through our network and through our equipment, making sure that that communication gets to the proper channels to make sure we save a life, we communicate properly. So yeah,
Yeah. Now,
it's a well-rounded position.
so something you talked about last time that I had never thought about, and
Yeah.
I know you're not with that company anymore, but you talked about,
Mhm.
for all these large networks, whether it be cell networks, computer networks, they're in large server rooms, and
Yes.
these computer and tech companies are hiring HVAC skilled workers and paying them top dollar because those server rooms have to be kept at a certain temperature in order for all of these people to be able to communicate.
Yes, exactly. So even with Logix, Verizon, Tate, it's all the same. That server room is what's going to make the world tick and what's going to make that happen and put the process into play. So the HVAC position is key for us to do our job because if the temperatures are not right, we can't do our work. Our servers shut down, everything overheats, just like someone's body. You're working, you're working, you're working, you're running, you're in the heat, you're in the elements, and your body's like, wait, this is too much. That's the same thing with a server. That system will stop. And if it stops, it becomes disastrous. So just like it becomes disastrous to your body, it becomes disastrous to our networks. So the HVAC technician makes sure that all temperatures are in the best condition for us, but also make sure that our equipment stays clean, make sure that equipment runs functionally. We don't just depend on the little fans that's behind the servers or behind our systems. We actually depend on a full air conditioning system to make sure that room is staying at the best, temperature possible.
Yeah, and the people dealing with those wirings and everything in the server room, they don't necessarily have to be 4-year degree people. That is people that are certified to work with those systems, maybe have
Mhm.
the technology certifications, and Tate and these other companies will train these people on how their specific system works. So if people are interested, or kids are interested in in the hardware side of things, that's not necessarily something you would have to do the 4-year college degree on.
Not at all, not at all. And that's why I stress so hard on having a vocational background as well, because that's what the world needs now. It's the 4-year degrees is great. Everybody's doing a wonderful job, but you also can do a 4-year degree, but also have certifications, have, things to back those degrees up because it's not the same for everybody. And a lot of people are looking for HVAC technicians. A lot of people in my class alone, when I graduated high school, started HVAC businesses. One of my friends is very successful in Chicago, and when the winter hits or when the summer hits, he's in business like immediately because you have to keep everybody cool. You have to keep everybody warm. You have to keep everybody safe. You have to keep networks together. So it's very good to have all of that in your background. Even if you do decide to go to a 4-year, if you decide to go to a technical, if you decide to do vocational, but to have that well-roundedness helps more than ever. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every step I took.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool because you hear kids say how they want to get into this field, but they're worried about how they would get into it. And I know when you first started this job, you said you were kind of worried about getting into something new because you didn't have a background in push to talk or anything, but it's actually come pretty easy for you because of the training you had before. It's very transferable.
Yeah, yeah. The world of technology and communications is very transferable. And I think that's what we all like dig in a little too deep and overanalyze. And the thing is that you don't have to, because communication is the same. It's just different forms. So as you know, being one of the lead technicians when I started Sprint, I worked in the Nextel field at the same time. So that was the only push to talk I had when people were doing what they call chirp on the phones,
Yeah,
chirping, sending
the
messages back and
idea
forth.
network, the old idea
Exactly.
network.
The
Yeah.
old idea network that's only government based now. Can't get it
Yeah.
anywhere publicly. So for me to have that history and to bring it now into this future and into this form of technology is amazing. And it made me feel more comfortable in what I'm doing because I have that history, I have that knowledge. I was able to easily bridge over into my transition here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's something else we have in common is I actually worked with Sprint Retail as well here in Jackson. And if that's and even though that wasn't a good fit for me, that these cell phone companies really are great companies to move up in. We
It is.
a friend of mine was C Spire here in Jackson, which is the largest privately held telecommunications company in the United States, based right here in Mississippi. She started out working in the store, and now she's in the corporate office dealing with all kinds of technology rollouts. And her degree is not in technology. Her degree is in education. And she is,
Exactly.
yeah. So and I'm glad you mentioned too about going to conventions because this is also a field where if you have people skills and you have sales skills, you can combine that and become very successful because the clients you guys are serving, they're not technology companies. They're public safety. These are people trained to save lives. These are not people trained in technology, but they depend on that technology in order to do their job. So if you can explain something to somebody that doesn't have a background in it and be an expert on it, you can really, really find your place in these technology companies.
Yeah, and it is all about how you communicate, another form of communication. Not only through a phone, not only through a Zoom call, it's how you communicate in person, how you present yourself. And it builds that trust within clients, it builds that trust within other, people, your company, and also it builds that confidence within yourself, knowing that you're able to do this job specifically, and you're helping in many different ways that you never thought you could. And the convention route is definitely a great opportunity to have because I'm able to talk to people from all walks of life and help them understand how important this equipment and this form of technology is. It's not like, the traditional let me call someone type of thing. I have to send somebody specifically that message and I have to record it. It has to be on radio. It has to be, in this area. And it also has to be within a safe network. And that's what we provide at Tate. That's what I'm proud of. And that's what I'm proud to be able to do. So a lot of people don't understand that technology and communications go hand in hand, always.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the videos that Tate has out, it was a small town fire department in Louisiana. And they said, look, these Tate devices were important because we were using these old walkie-talkies and we were getting all these other conversations coming in on it. And, in an emergency situation, we don't have time to waste trying to get it, trying to get information to each other. So it really does play a huge role. And I never thought about
Yeah, yeah. Time is of the essence in those situations. I mean, think about it. Even when school pickup happens for you guys, time is of the essence. There's a schedule to keep to make sure every student is on that bus, make sure every student is picked up, make sure that if another student is walking a different direction, that we know what's going on with them. That is what those radios are for. It's to communicate, to keep everybody in order in some sense, but also keep everybody safe. So you can even relate it into the education background, and students in schools. And, if there's an emergency, what do you guys do? You use that radio, you communicate with each other to make sure everybody is out of the building, everybody is in a safe space. So I take that with pride doing what I can do.
Absolutely. Now, before I get to the students' questions, I know something we always talk about is the need for diversity in this field. And with you being a triple minority in this field, dominated for a long time by white men, you've really started to see a change in the trend of the people in it and a change of the skills that are needed in this field. So, talk about your experience being all those different minorities in this field.
Well, being a woman, being part of the LGBTQIA community, being a Black woman at that is a triple threat. In a good way and sometimes in not so good of a way. Some people don't see the elevation of change, but it's not about who I am in a visual sense. It's about what I can do. And I've always worked hard into presenting that to people and to showing them that I am capable of doing this job just as much as you are. I'm not here to do it better. I'm here to work with you. I'm here to work beside you. We're not competition. We have the same goal. And being a triple minority, sometimes that can come off as a very, very discerning and like a disadvantage to some because they feel like, unfortunately, this is a world that's not that open as it should be. So they feel more threatened than welcoming. And sometimes that can create situations, but also you have to believe in yourself, knowing that you are capable of still doing the job and to maneuver through those situations, to go through the proper channels to make sure that you're safe in your position, not only financially, not only with job security, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally safe too, to actually be able to do the job. Because it's not just I'm picking up a pen, I'm picking up my computer and I'm running, configurations and I'm building. No, it's also I have to be capable and confident and comfortable in doing my job. So it takes a lot sometimes to do so. But when you have a great support system like you guys, when you reach out to me every time to do one of these presentations in these meetings, or your support system as in your management, your team, even the students I work with, or the families that I deal with or clients that I've dealt with, to show their appreciation, that validates what I am able to do. So it throws the being the triple minority out so much, but it's great to show who you are and show that anyone is able to do it. I mean, we talk about this every single time. I tell the girls, do not be ashamed that your manicure is like perfect, because I keep my nails together, everybody. And it's a reason why, because my presentation, when I have to go and speak to people, I have to look a certain way still. And at the same time, I'm working. I'm physically hands-on with these devices. I'm physically repairing. I'm physically taking care of everybody and doing what I need to do. But I still like to look nice, and it's okay. So I tell you guys all the time, it's about not only presentation physically, but it's the capability that you can show that you're able to do the job. And being that minority set can fall to the wayside once you're able to do all of that.
Yeah, and you love rocking that hard hat and showing that girls can wear them.
Yes, I do. And yes, keep your hair together after that hard hat. It's a mess afterwards.
All right, well, I do have some really good questions, and it was hard to, I know we're limited on time, but I had to get to as many of these as possible. So, this first one is Caden Williams. He's in ninth grade, member of our state championship powerlifting team here, and a member of our football team.
Mhm.
And he asked, "Do you think your career would have been different if you had gone straight through college at the beginning?"
No, no, because my passion was still there for engineering. So I think that it would have brought me to the same direction where I'm at now. It all depends on the person, not just the educational background, not just the 4-year college. You can still do it as long as your passion is still there. So I think that's a great start.
This is a very interesting question. This is Derek Mitchell, also in ninth grade, and he asked,
Okay.
"What is the range of the walkie-talkies?"
Oh, well, it depends on which version. It depends on the model that we have, and it depends on the frequency that we have to get cleared. That's the catch. We have to get those frequencies cleared through government agencies in order for,
Wow.
yeah. So think about it. A police officer has to have a certain range in district, has to have a certain range in a county. You know, Hinds County is big in Mississippi, as we know. It's given, I'm in Houston. Harris County is huge, but Hinds County is big. So we have to make sure that if law enforcement and your sheriff has to have communication with everybody and has to be able to reach out in the emergency and be reached, that has to cover the county. So it can be a range of just a small construction site, your local school, all the way out into across the state lines. So it all depends based on what we can get cleared, what guidelines have been followed, and what's able to be done. So it's a very good question. It's not in detail, I know, as he may like, but it also depends on the situation.
Yeah, and also depends on the device
Exactly.
because you guys had the mobile devices in the trucks, and those obviously had to have a very long range if they're shipping something across state lines.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so that's the thing. If you're shipping across state lines, if you're even say, for instance, as exciting as it may sound, a police chase, you've got to be able to communicate not only within your guidelines and your state line and your county line and city, city limits, but you've got to be able to transition over. So say for instance, your job cuts off at Hinds County and you got to go over to the next county and you can't legally go. That radio has to work to that next county and say, hey, this person is still going. So with that person still going, I need you to pick up for me where I left off. And that radio is going to get you into that form of communication
Yep.
to where that continues and safety is still given.
Yep. I like this one. This is Herbert Carmichael, also in ninth grade, and he asked, "When did you realize this was the career you wanted to get into?"
Oh, and okay, so as you know, I was, toying around with electricity and things like that as a kid, but my real hit was vocational high school, was school. And I was a freshman, and the cool thing about being in a vocational school was the first couple of years, you got to try everything, everything. From cosmetology, we had a beauty salon in the school, fashion design, HVAC. I took HVAC courses. I was even working in our airplane hangar. So I'm sure coach has told everybody, Chicago Vocational used to be a Navy base. So there's an airport hangar in the back of the school. I took horticulture. So at the top of the building, it's a greenhouse. We learned about plants, but my passion was always right there in front of me at computer maintenance. So as soon as they gave us the opportunity to pick our majors and we had to put them in order, there was no other option for me. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to be. And I gave everything else a try just to say I did it. But computer maintenance was always there. I was always in the computer labs. I was always in the maintenance area, learning about the wires, learning about soldering, learning about how to put everything together, how to take it apart, how to make it better. And so high school was definitely the confirmation for me.
Yeah, and we have our engineering and robotics academy on campus at Ridgeland High School and also at
Mhm.
our Madison Career Technical Center, and we also have our IT program at Madison Career Technical Center. So I would encourage anybody interested in that. You can get into this field right out of high school with those certifications you can get while you're in high school.
Exactly. So start early. If it's something you want to do, start early. If you want to change the route, you can. The good thing is you had the experience, you had the opportunity, and this is what you wanted to learn for that moment. And then you never know. You're able to bridge those over into other fields. So, one day I was even asked what my goal would be at Tate. And one of my goals would definitely be to train, to educate, to mentor, to bring this on to more people. So this is just a start. And with my certifications, with everything that I have as far as my Cisco backgrounds and everything else, being able to give that gift of knowledge to me is the most rewarding.
That's
So
all.
yes, the paycheck is great, but being able to teach others to take on what I can do, because it's not going to be me forever. So I need somebody to take care of it for me. I need somebody that I can trust, that can do the job and that can be successful. But also, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you feel like you may have a better idea, I welcome that. And that's the one thing, just tying back into being a triple minority, a lot of people didn't see women as being able to do this, because when we ask questions, they're thinking it's difficult. It's not being difficult. It's wanting to know, to grow, because if that person's not available and I am, then I have to do the job and I've got to be capable of doing so. So that's what I want to give that knowledge to, you guys, to my mentees, to, future employers that I have, and future employees that come in, that gift of knowledge, because you guys got to be able to do this job for me.
I love it. This is Rihanna Kelly, and she asked, "Does your job ever get hard, and how do you handle it?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. If nothing was hard, would it be worth it is the question. Because I mean, it's true. Like you want to be challenged, because when it gets too easy, it's boring. And it becomes idle hands, idle time. And it's like, what am I doing here? What's my purpose? What's my and yes, it gets hard, but in technology, every day is a day, an opportunity for learning. So I take that on with pride. I take that on in order for me to know, hey, there's always something new. There's always something, greater that I'm able to do, that I'm capable of doing. There's always something I can learn. And the good thing is that I have such a great support team now that I can actually ask for those trainings and say, hey, I want to learn this because this is going to be great for the business. This is going to be great for our equipment. This is going to be great for our clients. This is going to be great for our customers. And you filter that. But sometimes, honestly, you just got to sit, meditate, pray, have a conversation with God and people that you trust, and know that you're capable of doing it. Because a lot of people don't realize that imposter syndrome is real, and you question your capability, and you question what you're able to do. You question if you're even qualified to walk through that door and say, hey, I work here. And so once you have that support system, or you even believe in yourself, it takes a lot of that weight off. So it can get very hard. It gets very hard on my field, but I have a great support system. And I have you. I have you guys, constantly asking. I have you, Greg, around, and then I have, your students are so amazing with these questions, and always, just ready for me. It enlightens me. It makes me feel great. It makes me ready
Uh,
for these
Oh,
challenges.
I got two more, and this is a great
Okay.
segue from the last one. This is Precious Blackman, and she asked, "What's the hardest problem you've ever had to solve in your career?"
The hardest problem I ever had to solve in my career. Okay, so I wouldn't say it was hard. It was just very detailed. One of the most memorable situations I had, when I was at Verizon some years ago, and I was in the call center. And just like you said before, one of your friends started with the communications company and became bigger with an education background. But I started in the call center, and we had this really, really, really big sale on iPhones. iPhones were coming out, new, transition and so forth. And we had people that were coming from other carriers. So people were coming from T-Mobile, people were coming from AT&T, they were coming to Verizon. And unfortunately, there was a promotion and a feature on the phones and on the accounts that customers were supposed to get a certain amount of money off. The more phones you got, the more money you got off. Well, unfortunately, it got to me, and people were calling saying, okay, I switched over and I don't have this, promotion. My phone isn't doing this. My phone isn't doing that. And not only when you deal with things in the call center, you deal with just your specific job, you deal with everybody, So they were missing one person missed almost $1,500 in credits. One person, wasn't able to start Find My iPhone. And it just became a bigger and bigger and bigger issue. So I actually had to investigate on the Verizon side what happened and what could be done. And after further investigating and speaking to my network engineers at the time before I became one, speaking to other departments, speaking to my management, and on top of that, when Apple became a part of the issue, running with Apple, I started to have all of these meetings together with everyone, and we found out the problem. It was literally a promotion key that was incorrectly placed into the system. So when
Wow.
everyone throughout the entire Verizon network was buying new phones, they would put that promotion in and it would register, whether it was the store, the phone, or online, but it would never register in the system when the customers were actually looking at bills or trying to activate service or anything else. And once we fixed that, everything was fine. It took one keystroke.
Well, that shows how important coders are in the IT people and
It does.
telecommunications. And I know
It
I have a
does.
couple in here. I know I have a couple in here interested in IT, but that's the kind of mistakes that can cost a lot of money. I got one more. This is Rondell Ellis, and he
Okay.
asked, do you ever have a typical day? Do days ever look the same in your career?
Never. Never do they ever look the same. And that's the great part about it. It's the energy of just everything being different, something new every single day. So I would never look for it to be just blah. It's never a blah day here at Logic. I mean, at Tate, it was never a blah day at Logix. There was always something going down. There was always somebody needing assistance. Here on this side, there's always new equipment that we're testing, we're working on, we're building, and even Verizon. I mean, think about it. Back then, there's 5G that was coming out. There was never a day that it was just boring. So if you're gonna go in this field, be ready. Be ready for change that happens at any point and embrace it. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all.
Well, that was a great segue to end it, and we're almost out of time. And as always, we thank you so much for taking the time for us because it's so interesting all you do. But you kind of alluded to it there. So before we go, why should these kids really consider getting a career in this area of engineering?
Well, I feel like you should look into this form of engineering as just being a part of change, a great part of change. You actually can change the world by communication. It's just that simple. And if you have the passion to do it, if you have the drive and you want to learn, this is it. And you can bridge it to any background possible. You can take it anywhere with you. Even something as what people would see as basic as working in insurance or working, anywhere. That technology background, that communications background is what's going to get you in the door, and how you not only present yourself, but the work that you do. And it shows.
Yeah, and now before we go, I can say you are actually going to be sending something to the class here in the next few
Yes.
days.
Yes, I'm actually going back into the office, and especially for those that sent such wonderful questions, I actually have a nice little gift for everybody, and some of my favorite teachers will be getting a gift as well. So it'll be coming pretty soon. So
Yeah.
I'm glad. Hopefully next year we can actually finally come into the class and meet and do a little more fun activities, and then I'll bring some stuff over and we'll make it great. But this is always awesome.
Yeah, and really cool in a great way again to end our semester. But I know you got to get back to work. Thank you so much, Christa
Always a
Johnson, all the
pleasure.
way from Houston, Texas. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
See ya.